Hello, Jack Hall again. We've finally made it out to Modesto Reservoir, our, quote, lake house. Of course, I'm talking to you from our travel trailer again. I thought I would have a little commercial at the beginning of this. What you see me drinking is Kirkland tea. You get a whole bunch of these for not very much money at Costco. It's green tea. I love it. If you're into tea, or even if you're not, I suggest trying it. So there you go. That's my unpaid commercial. And of course, I'm drinking it in my cup, which says, think, common sense, not so common. That's what this whole blog is about, is trying to point out some facts of common sense. The topic of today's talk is, the most important topic is philosophy. You may wonder, and I wondered, I've talked about philosophy a lot, but I looked it up. Google knows everything. Philosophy is a systematic study of general and fundamental questions concerning topics like existence, reason, knowledge, value, beauty, mind, and language. The way I think about philosophy is, I think that everyone needs a personal philosophy. If you don't have a personal philosophy, an idea about how you want to approach the world, you're just kind of floundering around. If you have a personal philosophy, then you can tailor your actions to how you deal with the world according to that philosophy. I don't advise people to study philosophy in school. The big reason is a degree in philosophy will not get you a job. It may make you a better person. It may make you a good thinker, but it's probably not going to get you a good job. The purpose of college, in my mind, unless you're independently wealthy, is to enable you to make a decent living. Although I advocate studying philosophy, thinking about thinking, which is another way of defining philosophy, I don't advocate that you major in philosophy in school. If you want to take a class here or there and dabble in it, that's fine. Also, I'm recording this in 2025, and at this point in time, if you take philosophy in virtually any university that isn't a private university, and even most private universities, they're going to be taught by people that are dyed-in-the-wool communists or socialists. I personally totally disagree with the philosophy of communism and socialism. It sounds great on paper, works good on paper, but eventually it breaks down because greed is fundamental throughout humans. There are a few humans who aren't greedy, but they're pretty rare. Once you put greed into the mix, socialism and communism fall apart very, very quickly. You usually wind up with a fairly high body count. In any case, I don't advocate taking it at the university. There's a bunch of books that you can read. Marcus Aurelius, a book, the author is escaping me at the moment, Man's Search for Reason. He was a guest in a concentration camp in Germany, and he thought a lot about philosophy and really made some real contributions to thought. In any case, here's how I summarize it. Your philosophy directs how you think. How you think directs how you act. And how you act directs how your life goes. So you want to have a pretty solid way of thinking about life. There are some people in the world that have really stinky philosophies, and they live according to that. They get pretty bad results. One philosophy, if you want to call it that, is everyone is a jerk. You can't trust anyone. If you live by that, you don't get very far down the road before you are treating everybody like they're a jerk. Well, if you treat everybody like they're a jerk, you probably aren't going to get very many good things coming back towards you. It's not something that I advise. Another, to my mind, dead-end philosophy. You got to get everything that you can. You got to look out for yourself. You don't need to look out for anybody else. They're busy looking out for them. Just take care of yourself, and that's the important thing. While I agree with the fundamental idea that a person needs to take care of themselves, that they should not be expecting somebody else to be taking care of them. If you have the idea that that's the meaning of life and that that's the most important thing, I don't think you're going to have a very good life. I think it's going to be what you put out in the world comes back at you. I don't think that is something that is going to make your life run well. I would encourage you to think about what are your values? What are the things that you hold dear? What are the things that you think are guidelines for your behavior? And then follow those. Most religions are at their heart a philosophy. I think I'm going to take that back and say every religion is a philosophy. Marxism is a philosophy. There's a philosophy that was developed in Greece called asceticism, which is you basically avoid all material things. Hedonism is a philosophy of pursuing fun and pleasure and nothing else. While I think that each of those possibly has something to contribute to a basic philosophy, I don't think any one of those has a whole lot to offer all on its own. If you want to know what my philosophy is, if you watch every single one of the videos that I've produced or am producing, you'll get a pretty good idea of it. When I make one of these videos, I look like I'm doing them off the cuff, and I am to a large degree. But I've usually spent multiple hours thinking about what it is I want to say, what order I want to say it in. I don't always bring that off. Some of them I think are probably not particularly good. There are others that I've surprised myself. I've done better than I thought I would do. I've thought a lot about this particular video, and as I thought about it, I realized that there was actually quite a bit to say about it. My original thought that it was going to be kind of a one and done kind of thing. What your philosophy is controls how you think controls how you act controls how the world goes for you. And then I realized that there's a lot more to it, and so I'm planning on going into the weeds a bit here, not the least of which is to tell you some fundamental pieces of my philosophy. I was about 9 years old. I believe that the event was, no, I was younger, I was probably 7 or 8. I believe that the event that occurred was the Soviets had launched a satellite. My dad was working in the space program. We were in Cocoa, Florida, which is right next to Cape Canaveral. The year was around about 1959, 58, somewhere in that territory. And I saw all the guys, all the parents were out in our front yard, basically, over to the side by the cars. And the men are all standing around and they got their arms crossed and they're all real serious and they're really talking in a serious fashion. I looked at that and I thought, wow, those guys are just like real serious. It doesn't look like they're having much fun. I developed a philosophy that is, to a large degree, I guess, is an 8-year-old's philosophy, but I've kind of held it through my life. That is, I get it. If you're an adult, you have to be responsible. You have to get up early in the morning. You have to go to work. You have to brush your teeth, mow the lawn, buy the groceries, cook the food, wash the dishes, wash the car, take the car down and get the oil changed, and on and on and on it goes, dealing with all of the things that are necessary to keep life going. You don't have a whole lot of time for goofing off and having fun. What I realized is there's no rule that says that you can't be responsible, do the things that you need to do, and have a good time doing it. At that point, I resolved, okay, I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to do the things I need to do, but I'm going to have as much fun at it as I possibly can. Can't see any reason why I shouldn't have fun at it if I can. So that is one of my basic philosophies. Another one comes from the Hippocratic Oath. First of all, do no harm. You know, it's possible, maybe even likely, that this set of videos that I'm making isn't going to accomplish much of anything. It's going to be, you know, me yelling into an empty canyon, listening to the echo. And that's okay. I'd rather it were more than that. If that's what occurs, I can live with it. The thing that I think is very important is do no harm. If you look at the videos, I hope that there is nothing that can be construed out of any of these videos that leads people to do bad things. And I think that's not a bad philosophy for life. Do no harm. To the greatest extent possible, make the world a little bit better for your having been in it. I think it makes the life worth living. Don't fight. If at all possible, avoid fighting. Boy, I definitely didn't live by that one. I was in high school. We had moved out here from Florida. The high school that I went to, people were pretty cliquey, and I was the new kid in school. Some guy picked a fight with me, and I always had the philosophy that no one gets to hit me for free. You can hit me, you may even beat me up, but you're not going to hit me for free. So I would fight back. Because I would fight back, I became known as the guy to go if you wanted to have a fight. Needless to say, fights were picked with me by guys that were a lot bigger than me, generally speaking, and I probably lost virtually every single fight that I was in. My basic thought was, I'm not going to let you hit me for free. I tried to make sure that I inflicted damage on anyone that picked a fight with me. It finally got to the point that some guy would come towards me talking like he was going to fight. As soon as he got within striking range, I just hit him. No point in talking about it. Let's just get to it. Well, that wasn't exactly the best idea, I don't think. I think initially, because I was trapped in the school, I was there with the same people every day, day in and day out. I couldn't go someplace else. Maybe I could have changed my approach at some point and maybe managed to start talking my way out of fights. The way I got out of being in fights was I grew 3 inches and played on the water polo team, got to be a better fighter and smacked the snot out of a couple of people, and then they left me alone, and that was all I really wanted. I'll admit to a little hypocrisy there about don't get in a fight. But as an adult, I have always done everything I can to avoid a fight. Step number 1 is remove yourself from the situation if you can. Just go away. Just walk away, run away if you need to. That's step 1. Step 2, try not to be around that particular person again, which if you're not trapped in an institution, is pretty easy to do. Just don't go down that street again. In the extreme case, maybe you need to move. There are no winners in a fight. There's only big losers and bigger losers. My advice is don't get in a fight if you can avoid it. Really think long and hard before you decide to get in a verbal fight or a physical fight. And also, if you think about it, very few times does somebody actually, quote unquote, win a fight, ultimately wind up achieving the result that they wanted. In most cases, they wind up with a worse result than if they hadn't been involved in that fight at all. Divorce is the ultimate losing of fighting. That's another of my philosophies. I've made a video, and I think it may be the one that disappeared, but another of my philosophies is be nice. It doesn't cost a thing. It makes your life more pleasant, makes the lives of other people around you pleasant. It is absolutely amazing how many times doors open that you didn't even know were there if you're just simply nice and helpful to people. And I guess I just touched on another one of be helpful. It costs very little to help people if they've got a problem. Open the door for them and pick up the package they've dropped. If you're at a stop sign, let the other guy go first, especially if you don't have someplace you just have to be in the next 10 seconds, which is another one. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. Always try to be early to anything that occurs. The people that know me well will tell you that that's one that I took a long time to learn, but I did finally learn that lesson. So there you go. There's a few of my own personal philosophies. I hope you have some of your own. I hope that you look for the philosophies that are going to make life nicer for the people that are around you. Because if you're busy making life nicer for the people that are around you, they're going to want to stay around you, and they're going to want to make life nicer for you. It is a win-win situation. I'll leave you with a final philosophy, one that I read a long time ago. There is no win-lose in negotiations. There is only win-win. If I win and you lose, you're going to remember that. And you're either not going to deal with me anymore, or you're going to come to get even. And you may get even way beyond even to where you've really shown me how I shouldn't have been that way. Don't go for that. Try to make it so that you win and the other party wins as well. When both people win, life goes forward and everybody profits. And that's what it's all about in the end, is let's make it so we're all winners. Maybe a bit of a Pollyanna approach. I've practiced it to a very large degree for almost 80 years now. I'm 77 at this point. is something that has worked for me, and you'll hear more of this as time goes along. I'm not forgetting what the topic of the talk is, which is develop a philosophy of your own, because your philosophy controls how you act, and how you act controls how things work for you. There you go. I hope it's been of use. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time, and maybe in another cool place.